You are listening to Beyond the Wheel, a podcast about the people and ideas that drive the RV community forward.
Looking to get out there and stay out there? Battleborn Batteries lithium-ion batteries are here to power your RV, marine, and off-grid adventures. Designed as an easy drop-in replacement for traditional lead-acid batteries, these reliable solutions have 2 to 3 times the power, charge 5 times faster, are a fifth of the weight, and last 10 times longer. Offered in a variety of models in unique sizes and shapes, ranging from 50 amp hour to a robust 270 amp hour. And backed by a 10-year warranty. Battleborn batteries are built to fit your needs and power your experiences. On the road, on the water, and off the grid, reliable power is here. Check them out at battlebornbatteries.com.
On today's episode, we're diving into the exciting collaboration between 3 trailblazers in the RV travel industry, Adventure Genie, RVshare, and Spot2Nite. Our guests will discuss how they've joined forces to create a seamless experience for both new and seasoned RVers. From renting an RV, finding the perfect campground, and planning your entire trip with AI-driven technology, this partnership is making RVing more accessible and enjoyable for everyone. Stay tuned as we explore the benefits of this collaboration, the importance of customer support, and the exciting future of outdoor travel.
Hey, everybody, and thanks for joining us today on this very ambitious episode where we are joined by 3 guests. This is the most amount of guests we've ever had on the show. But to kind of start us off, we're going to try to do a brief introduction of each guest. You'll get to hear their voice and what company they're representing. So, guys, if you could just kind of chime in one at a time. Maybe Scott, we'll start with you.
Thanks, Kenny. Hi, Scott Lengel here. I'm the CEO and one of the co-founders of Adventure Genie.
Hi, this is John Gray. I'm the CEO of RVshare, and thanks for having me on.
Hi, everybody. I'm Terry Broussard. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Spot2Nite.
So, John, could you tell us about the collaboration that you had with Spot2Nite with your company, RVshare?
Sure. So let me first just talk a little bit about what RVshare is and what we do, because I think that's important context for then how the partnership came to be. Effectively, what RVshare does is it connects people who are looking to go on an RV trip, who don't have an RV, or who don't have an RV in that particular part of the country, but maybe wanting to visit somewhere and rent an RV, with somebody who has an RV and wants to turn it into a second source of income. It's a model that was popularized by Vrbo and Airbnb with vacation homes. It basically takes advantage of an asset that already exists, that someone has, and that they can turn it into a second source of income. So RVshare is kind of in this business of serving as a marketplace that connects people who are going on trips with people who have an RV. One of the biggest needs, as you all know, for someone renting an RV is a place to put that RV. And obviously that is right at the core of what Spot2Nite does with their business. So the kind of start of our partnership came there. And, I would say Spot2Nite has been a very flexible and thoughtful partner in bringing to market some really clever solutions, things around the Eclipse where you could rent an RV on a given spot and things like that. So that's kind of where the partnership started. Was we have these RVs, people are typically new to camping who are renting them, and they need a spot to put them.
Essentially, people that rent from RVshare can then go to Spot2Nite to find a place to put that RV that they're renting.
That's exactly right. And I would just add to that along the premise that John shared, that we have a preponderance of new travelers, not only in the RV community as a whole, but using RVshare to, test the waters, as it were. And again, so now they have their RV ready to go, sized appropriately for the number of passengers and perhaps in the location that they want. And they need the easy button. And that's where Spot2Nite comes into that partnership. We want to be that easy button for the RVshare travelers and now AI Genie so that we can get the travelers right to where they need to go.
And then, Scott, with your Adventure Genie, the sort of AI trip planner for RVers, it seems like that is a perfect fit to make a nice threesome for people wanting to RV.
Yeah, so several years ago, when we first got into RVing, myself and my wife, Lisa, one of the biggest challenges that we were facing, and we did not own an RV at the time, and coincidentally, we rented an RV from good old RVshare. RVshare was the one were the folks that got us into RVing in the first place and got us going. But what we found was once we secured the RV, we really didn't know what to do with it in terms of where to go, where to stay, things to do, specific campgrounds, and we that there was a void in the marketplace for tools to help us along the way. We ended up using several different applications, a dozen different browser windows that were going to different websites, and it was overly complex and trying to pull it all together to just develop a very simple journey. And that's when we decided to create Adventure Genie, which is the world's first AI-based trip planner that's targeted on the RVing and camping and overlanding and cross-countrying types of individuals. Several of the things that we had missing from our trip planner was the ability to secure an RV if you didn't already own one, like we were at the beginning of this venture. So that's where we were fortunate enough to establish this partnership with RVshare, as well as to have direct booking in the campgrounds and the campsites. And that's where our partnership with Spot2Nite comes into play. Now, with the three of us together, we can take a user all the way from renting an RV to planning a compelling journey to securing their campsite.
And how would that exactly look for on the consumer side of things? Could they go to any one of the individual websites and get started, or do they need to start with one of these in the first place?
Right. From an Adventure Genie perspective, each of our partners here have a very rich and compelling user experience on their own, right? Folks can go to RVshare. It's a great website. It's a great set of tools that help you to narrow down the search for an RV that works for you. Same thing if a user went directly to Spot2Nite, they could find the campgrounds that are a great match for them based on the RV or camper that they have, and they'll find great campgrounds and specific sites that are a great match for the user. If you wanted to do it all in one step, Adventure Genie would be the place. And we allow the user to first shape their trip across country, find great places to go, identify cool things to do along the way at each location, and find great campgrounds. Within Adventure Genie, we can get a direct booking to the campground through our direct integration to Spot2Nite. And at any one of the stops along the way where it makes sense for the user, if they don't currently have their RV, or if they don't have an RV at the location that they're going, as John mentioned earlier, then through our direct integration with RVshare, they can go to the pool of RVs in that location. And again, using the same types of filters that you would get in the native tools of RVshare or Spot2Nite, using the native filters and search capabilities, you can do it all from within Adventure Genie and book both the RV on the front end and the campsite on the back end, all wrapped around the AI-based trip planning that you're doing in Adventure Genie.
Something you said there, Scott, made me think about something, and that is if I went to Adventure Genie and let's say I wanted to go through the entire state of Texas, and so I'm leaving from Virginia and I'm going to drive my car down to Texas, but I want to stay at campgrounds while I'm down there. Can I, this is more of a question for John, I guess. Could I then rent a different RV at each location so I can just take my car to each place?
You certainly could if you wanted to. One of the things I would note about how RVshare works is that in many cases, someone already has a campground in mind that they're going to. In many cases, they're going to a place that isn't a campground. Like, either they have a set of land that they're using for a family reunion, or they're using an RV is an extra bedroom outside a house, or, they're staying at a hip camp or something like that, right? So in those types of situations, our owners will deliver the RV to the location, set it up, and it'll be kind of ready to go. That can happen through in campgrounds as well. We do that all the time. I would say in a multi-stop trip, I think you would have a better time driving the RV from one stop to the other, so you're not constantly having to repack and all that. We all well understand the advantages of RVing, and you don't really get those if you stay in a different RV in each spot in a multi-stop place or in a multi-stop trip. But in a single stop trip where, you want to stay in a specific campground, getting there, having the RV delivered and taking your own car is very much an option. It's also important to note that, while we certainly rent motorhome type RVs that are drivable, we also rent many towable RVs. So if you have a truck or a car that tows an RV, you can, rent a pop-up camper, you can rent a large towable, and if you have the equipment for it, you can rent a fifth wheel. And, so we really have the whole range of RVs available. There's over 100,000 on the platform, and they can be delivered kind of wherever you want them.
Oh, so they can also be delivered, John, because you had kind of said that, if you had a vehicle for like a fifth wheel, could somebody have a fifth wheel dropped off at a site for them, and all they had to do was show up at the campground and kind of just move their stuff in?
Yes, what you just described is my favorite way to camp with my children, because they're pretty far away from me when they're sleeping. So, yes, you absolutely can do that. I don't have a truck that'll tow a fifth wheel, but I can get a fifth wheel delivered to, the campground I want to go to. I've done this before, and, the kids are sleeping 30 feet away from me. It's great.
I'll just chime in and share my most recent RVshare story there, in that we wanted to tour from Margaritaville and Auburndale down to the Keys. But I didn't want to, I've driven so many times from Louisiana to Tampa, wasn't much purpose of camping there. We zipped over to Auburndale, was running late because of fog. My RVshare owner coordinated dropping it off, had it plugged in, air conditioned, refrigerator chilled, and the Golf Channel tuned when I opened the door to the camper in the campsite. It was phenomenal.
That's awesome.
And then
Great.
it was great. And from there we took off and went over to the southeast coast of Florida, and then hitting a couple of Spot2Nite parks along the way, which is what we were doing as well, down to the Keys, back up, and then on pickup got back to Margaritaville. And hey, Terry, no problem. Just drive it out in front of Margaritaville, leave it, send me a picture where the Keys are, have a great, safe trip home, and we were done. And it was beautiful.
Yeah, that's great. That's a great testimonial right there. That's service.
Yeah, it was great, and I really I sing the praises of RVshare in that operation. That went very well, and yeah, I'm a huge fan, and I think that's what sparked our early interest in the RVshare. I'm a 4-time RV owner, and right now I like to use these products to kind of scale my next RV. So I always determine who's going with us, how many people are going to be on board, and then I go from there.
And Terry, that's great to hear about that experience. And also, I think it's a wonderful reminder of, how much friction exists in this category. If you're new to camping, the idea of going out and renting an RV, of finding a place to put it, of finding stops along the way that are going to have the necessary things for servicing the RV, for entertainment, those types of things are, these are big problems to solve if you're new to them. Once you've been doing this for a while, they're kind of second nature. But when you're really entering this category, it's a wonderful category filled with great travel memories, amazing communities, and all sorts of other things that, those of us who've been in this category for a while understand. But when you're new to it, you experience the friction more than you experience the great parts of it. So that's, at the heart of partnerships like the one we're talking about here is the idea of removing friction from getting new people to experience the outdoors.
Well, and exactly, and I think the integration of Adventure Genie brings that technology now. This is just going to be one of the greatest partnerships I think out there. People don't figure out width of a bridge or height of an overpass or all the dimensions of things like that into travel in an RV, especially if you're new, and you think, okay, I've got this, say, fifth wheel, or I've got this big Class A. And I drive that road all the time, but oh, wait a minute, I didn't pay attention to the 13.5 foot clearance. And now I've got a real tight fit, or will I even be able to make it? And I think that's where the tools of the AI, Adventure Genie will really, really be the icing on the cake for all of this.
We were at a rally up in Goshen, Indiana last week, and someone came up to me and said, I want to take this trip from the Southeast. Say we're coming from South Carolina. I want to go through Nashville. I want to go through Nashville. I want to take a southerly route, and I want to go through Amarillo, Texas, and then work my way up northwest to Utah and visit the big five national parks of Utah. Can you help me? They were asking me at Adventure Genie, can you help me plan that trip? And can you help me secure an RV? And can you help me find places to stay? And by the way, I don't want to drive all the way out there with me. So can I take a road trip and you make recommendations for stops along the way? Get me to a location out there, maybe at Zion or Arches, where I pick up my RV and bop around the 5 national parks, do my thing, drop it off wherever I need to have it dropped off, and secure my campgrounds while I'm out there, and then let me get back into my car and take my trip home and help me plan the stops along the way. And that's exactly where this integration really, really starts to shine. We will make those recommendations, the Genie stops all along the way. We'll know if they're in an RV and they're looking for a campground or not. We could kind of sort of recommend hotels along the way, just for a little differentiator. Not natively built in, but with our AI, we can do that. And then serve them up the RV that meets their needs for the portion of the trip that makes sense for them. And of course, do the instant booking for the campgrounds with the instant availability that Spot2Nite provides. So it's really an end-to-end service that our end users, especially the new RVers, but even the seasoned RVers, are really starting to get their heads wrapped around this, and in particular, how AI can be used for good, because AI can get a little bit of a bad rap.
Scott, you took the words kind of right out of my mouth. I just spent the last 2 weeks in Utah doing not all the big five, but certainly I think we did 3 of them, and then several national monuments and some state parks in Utah as well. And the one thing I noticed is that there are a ton of campgrounds, especially, in that Moab area where, there's just campground after campground after campground when you get within 50 miles of Moab, but they all have different things to offer. Some are very primitive, some are, very luxurious, and then there's a ton in between. And that the other thing I noticed is there's a lot of signs at these parks saying, max length 26 feet, max length 35 feet. So we were traveling around, I was thinking about this interview coming up this week with the 3 of you, and it's kind of amazing to think about, because I could go to your platform at Adventure Genie and kind of find the highlights of what I wanted to visit, and then I could go to Terry's website and see what these campsites look like as far as with Spot2Nite, and then based on all that, I could pick out the right size RV that's going to fit in all of these parks, and we would still be comfortable in. And so I guess I kind of got an appreciation for the 3 of you working together just by looking around at all the different options that there are out in places like Utah.
I would add, make sure that our listeners know that not only are we 3, different teams providing all the support, but behind all of us is our phenomenal traveler support, that's available. Because I know each one of our groups, we have our own kind of like customer support channels, if you will, for them. And I think new travelers and new listeners should understand that, you're not going it alone. You're not getting down to the end of a dark road with a locked gate at a campground without having somebody there on the other end of a of a help channel to help you out. So go out there and do that. Play with the tools that we've created here and plan that trip and see America.
I think that's a great point, Terry. It just, kind of from the RV share side of it, when you book an RV through RV share, there's, kind of built-in insurance that you book as part of the checkout flow. We have, full, obviously 24/7 roadside assistance that is part of booking with us. And then, we have 24/7 customer service as well. Because at the end of the day, there's incredible incentive alignment here. We all want people to go on a great trip, have a wonderful time, and then go on another one later. It is a great industry filled with a wonderful community and camaraderie within it. But, the incentive alignment is also there to help you as a traveler have a wonderful trip on these platforms.
And I think that's how we all kind of got started. We were doing it for the community to make a better experience for our users, because the fact that we're even talking about three different companies that are being, that are collaborating and integrating in some fashion should give a hint that it's not necessarily simple. And that's why you need tools and people and resources to do it. And, we feel we're kind of proud that taking the power of each one of these entities here and providing a full end-to-end service will greatly simplify the process for the end users, making them have a much more, because what do they want to do? They want to go on a trip. They want to have fun on a trip. They don't want to spend their time planning the trip. That's could be the hardest part of it. They want to go out there and do the trip and have fun with friends and family and camaraderie and so forth. So the more that we can collectively do this together for the whole community means that they're going to get more value out of it, and they're going to come back and do it again and again and again.
Yeah, and I think one of you said earlier too that this is a great collaboration. It's a great program for the inexperienced all the way up to the seasoned traveler. I think this is going to be great for all kinds of consumers. You guys aren't just like picking one type of traveler. This really is going to be very helpful for all the consumers. I'm curious, Sean and I talk a lot about things like the behind the scenes of what's going on with companies. And now that we have the three of you on here, when you guys make a collaboration like this, is there information that you're able to share maybe on the, the back end of things that helps each of your own companies in any way? Is there information that you guys can provide to one another to say, hey, this might be a little bit of information that you could use or anything like that going on with this type of collaboration?
I mean, of course, whenever you do a partnership like that, like this, it's based on a shared thesis and, an idea for how this can work together. And so that obviously comes it starts with it from a place of sharing. We obviously will continue to share over time ideas for how to make the partnership better for our customers and make it work better. One thing that is important to note here is that, any data that is shared with us in confidence, we of course don't share, right? And I think that's an important thing to call out here is that, these are three separate entities and we have our own data sets and customer sets and things like that. So we do work together to provide a kind of as much of a unified experience as possible. But, of course, you should feel like your data is being shared with the company you're working with.
No, that makes perfect sense. That makes a lot of sense. I have a little bit of a follow-up question. With this partnership that you guys have in place right now, is this something that you guys look at and say, let's do this for a year and see where we're at the end of the year? Or is there no time limit on this type of partnership?
This is ongoing and open as far as I'm concerned. I tell you, I think as far as Spot2Nite, we're continuing to onboard parks at a record rate here. So our availability of spots is rapidly growing, and this season I feel like will be, just a great test case for the entire project there, as far as we're concerned. And I know RVshare can probably relate to those early years. I mean, guys, no secret, we're only a couple, 3 years old ourselves here as far as out really booking. And I can remember the days when I had 7 parks, and now we're over 1,200 parks. The growth has been phenomenal, and which of course feeds data to these to our other two partners here to bring more spots available. And at the end of the day, the success is all about that we're all on a common mission to make it easier for campers to camp and enjoy the great outdoors. And we all want the same thing. We all want reservations, right? Whether it's in the use of the product, use of the RVshare, use of the spots in Spot2Nite, and all comes together with these integrations with Adventure Genie.
And I would say at RVshare, we pride ourselves on being a good and open and kind of long-term partner to the companies that we work with. We have a track record of that. And so, yeah, we always look at a partnership as a beginning and an opportunity to evolve and expand from there. So, from that perspective, obviously contracts have due dates, but partnerships typically do not. And we usually like to think of those as long-term engagements that we can continue to optimize and make better over time.
Yeah, from an Adventure Genie perspective, I'm going to tie this into the prior question too, in terms of data sharing and knowledge sharing and so forth. First off, I should mention we are absolutely the new kids on the block. We just celebrated our 1-year anniversary in May of releasing the first version of our product. We formed the company a couple of years ago. We released the product 1 year ago in May of 23. We've had a whole bunch of releases since then. Every 3 weeks we release new software, by the way. So we're primarily a consumer of information from our two partners here, Spot2Nite and RVshare. We do have direct integration with them through what we call APIs in the programming world and microservices and so forth. But we envision a day that we will be a provider of some of the compelling and proprietary information that we have in Adventure Genie. We tend to know a lot more about places that folks are going to and the routes that they're taking and typical routes. So, if somebody's going to Asheville from Florida, they're going up to Asheville, North Carolina, maybe with a couple of stops along the way. We know where they might be heading next, and we could make those recommendations and we do make those recommendations to our users, but we certainly could make that type of information available to our partners here too, that might help them in securing the sites and in renting the RVs as well. So we definitely have aspirations of being a provider of information also.
Scott, I know that you guys are a like a membership based site, if I'm not mistaken. And does that, like, if somebody's a member of your site, I'm not really sure how to ask this question with the right clarity, but I guess if somebody is on Spot2Nite and they want some assistance in trip planning, can they still get to Adventure Genie? Or do they have to go to Adventure Genie first and sign up to be a member before they can get routed to Adventure Genie from, let's say, RVshare or Spot2Nite?
Yeah, I guess the way to answer that would be a reminder that RVshare stands alone on its own, and Spot2Nite stands alone on their own as well, and use go to either of their sites and typically does. That's the normal use case. When we look at the integration with Adventure Genie, it would typically start in Adventure Genie, and you have a user account in AG. We'll call it AG for short. You have a user account in AG, and you may or may not have a paid subscription in Adventure Genie. Of the concept of free accounts as well, which allow you to do a whole bunch of stuff, including connection to Spot2Nite and RVshare. So you don't need to be a paid subscriber of Adventure Genie to get access to both of these other two platforms. We envision that most users will create a paid subscription in Adventure Genie because we give a whole bunch of added features, especially around the AI capabilities. You don't have to. So, the shorter answer is you could start in either one of any of these platforms, but if you do it in Adventure Genie, that's where it would be the easiest to go end to end from both the to planning the compelling trip to booking the campsite.
And then I have a question for Terry and John, actually. We have Scott here too, so don't feel bad if you hurt his feelings or anything. Are either one of your companies using any type of AI? Are they interested in using AI? And if so, would you collaborate with Scott to introduce AI into your two different companies?
As far as Spot2Nite goes, I say we are using it because we're using Adventure Genie, right?
Sure.
So we really kind of want to stay in our lane, right? And our lane is to provide, like you said earlier, frictionless RV spot booking. We've expanded that last November to at the Outdoor Hospitality Conference to announce that we were booking other vertical stay accommodations. So people can now get, and when you mentioned hotels earlier, you can now book a lodge, for instance, a lodge room if they have them at the campground, or cabins, tent squares, things like that. And so that particular information there really brings it together to build us the case for we are the go-to guys for campground spots and availability and booking. And all of our partnerships that we've just announced, most recently with Road Trippers, we have Reserve America, we supply to Good Sam, campgrounds.com. All of these help us, stay in the lane and be the leader in the OTA world for campground reservations.
And then Scott, I have a question for you. I know that you have a great background or history of being in the tech industry. Is AI the fastest growing and fastest changing? I don't even know how to really specify it, but as far as tech goes, is it faster changing than anything you've ever seen in the past?
That is an incredible question. So yeah, thanks for the question. I retired from the tech industry in 2017 after spending 35 years deep in the tech industry, the last 23 with Microsoft as a CTO in one of their divisions. And that was back in 2017, took a few years off, and then I'm coming back strong. And over those, now 4 decades, let's say, the answer to your question is yes and no. And this is why, because AI has been around since probably believe it or not, the 1950s, maybe the 1960s. And it was always within your grasp, just a little bit outside of your reach. It's coming, it's coming, it's coming. And then you'd see a little bit more over time with various paradigms. You started seeing a little voice recognition and natural language processing and a whole bunch of other things that came along the way. But it really was slow going. And my entire career, I thought AI is almost here and it's going to change the world. It's almost here, it's going to change the world. It didn't until about 2 years ago. So it was really slow growing for about 4 decades. But over the last 2 years, it is now like the fastest, back to your question. Yes, it's like the fastest growing technology paradigm that I've ever been involved in. And over those decades, I've been in a lot of different paradigm shifts. So it took a long time to really get its footing and traction. But now with supercomputers and tons of memory and really fast networks, it's all possible. And yeah, now it's just the growth of it is just screaming fast and accelerating beyond anyone's wildest dreams.
Who would have thought that you would be able to use, I mean, even 3 or 4 years ago, I wouldn't even have thought about having an AI tool to plan an entire vacation.
Yeah, and think about it as your co-pilot. Here's one of the areas where people might have a little bit of concerns, but I want to dispel any of those. We don't, we don't take over. We don't mandate what you do. We make suggestions and recommendations, and it's based on what we know about you and what you're willing to tell us about you. It's based on our knowledge of great campgrounds. It's based on our knowledge of routing. It's based on our knowledge of great things to do, and this body of knowledge continues to build up. It's based on our knowledge of where to find a vehicle, an RV, to supply your needs. But think of us as a co-pilot. We're just like sitting alongside there and making recommendations, and you ask for additional things to do or to secure, and we do it quickly, efficiently, way more way quickly and better than a human can do on their own. But we're just an assistant. We're a co-pilot. Help. It's like your trusty little trip planning co-pilot sitting alongside you along the way.
And with you guys collaborating together, are you guys sharing marketing tools in any way, or are you guys just promoting one another in any way?
I'll jump in and say I know that our respective marketing teams collaborate all the time certainly on special events, and I think you'll see a lot more of that as as this matures and pushes out. As John spoke, we had a good time with the eclipse. I probably won't be around for the next eclipse, but just there'll probably be other events before that.
But yeah, to answer the question there, we definitely, get the word out there about the collaboration to our users through our marketing channels. And, think that's one of the ways we can generally drive awareness for it. And again, make the consumer's experience better at the end of the day by allowing them to find a campground more easily and, find stops along the way and, better plan their trip.
Yeah, and I'll give you an example of that. Adventure Genie originally was targeted at the RV owner or the camper owner. And once we established the partnership with RVshare, that opened up a whole new world of opportunities to the first time RVer. And not only the first time RVer, but folks that maybe are getting together with a group in their family that not everybody owns an RV. And so we've had focused marketing campaigns now targeted at at individuals that don't currently own an RV to complement the full suite of offerings that we have here. And that was a direct co-marketing activity that we did with RVshare.
John, you're the oldest, I guess, company in this conversation. And so I wanted to ask you and also you're very close to the RV rental space being RVshare. How is it looking for this summer? I know we had a little bit of a downtrend in the industry for a few months, but we have a big weekend coming up, Memorial Day weekend coming up as we record this. How do you see the RV season for this summer? Is it looking really good? Can you tell anything yet?
Yeah, so look, I'd say a few things on this. So first is, you kind of look at the long-term trend of this business, and so I've been at RVshare for the past 6 years. The company was started 10 years ago. In the past 6 years, it's more than 10x in size, right? So the longer term part of this industry, I mean, obviously has been a big up and to the right curve. We had this kind of weird disruption throughout the outdoor travel industry in the pandemic, which is, during the pandemic, all of these businesses kind of went to nothing for a short period of time and then came roaring back because when people wanted to get outside and, build great memories with their families, we were who they turned to, the outdoor travel industry as a whole. And that was a great privilege, a great responsibility, and a tremendously confusing business trend, right? In that we got 5 years of growth all within a year. And, the last couple of years, and, you see this in shipments of new RVs from the OEMs, you see it in campground occupancy, you see it in national park attendance, and you see it with RVshare too, is you have these massive increases and then kind of a return to a more normal growth pattern. And that's kind of what we've seen over the course of the last few years. So, we're now a business that is materially larger than we were during the pandemic, which is amazing given how big the pandemic is, right? But just the speed of growth has definitely slowed in this entire category, but that RV rentals have not been immune to that. So I think we see growth as still pretty good, but not what it was during the pandemic. This year is a little bit harder to forecast than other years because you had this kind of strange thing that happened in the middle of April with the eclipse, which ended up being a massive booking event, size-wise pretty similar to 4th of July, and just happening on a Monday in April, which is obviously pretty atypical for this business. overall, seeing a good summer. It's a little bit harder to project because you don't know if you've pulled demand forward. In that, people who may have taken a Memorial Day trip took it in April instead to see the eclipse. That's still to be determined. We're obviously at the point of the curve where we're moving toward Memorial Day, and we're, breaking booking records every day right now. And that's, that should be the case given the seasonality. So that's not, it would be alarming if it wasn't the case. But that's kind of what we're seeing right now. And, obviously we hope it continues. We're seeing obviously some better year-on-year numbers for shipments of RVs. We're seeing, one of the biggest benefits that we can get to this category is flight prices being really expensive to go to Europe, because we're a wonderful trade-off for a European vacation, especially if flights are very expensive. And right now they are. So I think a lot of trends are good for us. The other one to watch, obviously, going into the summer is what gas prices do. We'll be watching all of those just like you guys will be. So I would say I can't really ever be more than cautiously optimistic, but I'm cautiously optimistic for the summer.
Yeah, I could say I just returned. Yeah, it's good news. And I just returned from Overland Expo West, and they just had their biggest show to date of 15 years. This was their largest crowd, largest amount of vendors, largest attendance overall. So I would say things are still looking really good for the outdoor space.
All right, gentlemen. Well, I think that's all of our questions. We really appreciate you guys joining us and having this conversation with us. And I'll just give you an opportunity to give any last words that you want. And Scott, we'll start with you.
Well, thanks again, guys, for having us on and pulling this together. It was a pleasure engaging in this discussion with the two great partners here and showcasing the value of the power of each of our individual organizations coming together in an integrated fashion, and some of the parts really being greater than the whole. If anyone wants additional information on Adventure Genie, of course, go to www.adventuregenie.com.
And John, what about you?
So I just wanted to build on the last point about, the future being bright for outdoor travel, and, there's good attendance at conferences, shipments are starting to move back up. One of the biggest things, so I've worked in the travel business for the past 20 years, and what I would say is I've never seen a tailwind like the work from anywhere movement. And I think it has a direct benefit for outdoor hospitality, outdoor travel as a whole, which is as we get more flexible with work schedules, which is happening in many industries. I realize not all, but certainly in many, your season expands in terms of its length. Your shoulder seasons get bigger. Your shoulder seasons are actually, in many cases, the best time of year to go to a place. And now those are kind of far more in play. People are still, tied to school calendars and things like that. But your season is just opened up when work is a bit more flexible. And I think that once you give people a choice, like the ability to, work from anywhere or not, you've now given them that choice. It's going to be hard to take it away. So I see this as a macro trend that we'll see happening for quite a while. And I also think that it is just a massive tailwind for the outdoor travel industry. And, one of the things that just makes me really excited about the future we have here in front of all of us.
And any last words from you, Terry?
Oh, certainly. First off, I'd like to say thanks again to the team for bringing us all together to share the information. And then I think to the listeners there, I would just, again, be very encouraging to make use of the tools that we have assembled here. Don't be afraid to get out there and enjoy the great outdoors. And as we say at Spot2Nite, grab the apps there and look, book, and go. And we'll see you on the road.
I love it.
Yeah. So thanks so much for joining us. And we know you guys are really busy, especially with the camping season in full swing now. And we just once again say thank you.
Big thanks to Scott, Terry, and John for working out their schedules and being able to join us all together for this packed episode. We are going to have links to all three companies in our show notes, so if you're looking to rent an RV, book a site, or need some travel plans, be sure to check out RVshare, Spot2Nite, and Adventure Genie. I bet we see a lot of innovative ideas come from this partnership, and we will be keeping an eye on all three of these companies as they move forward with this collaboration. Sean and I will be back in 2 weeks with a new driver's edition. But before you go, could you please do us a favor and leave us a rating or review? These ratings help get the show ranked higher than others and makes it easier for new listeners to find us. Take care all and safe travels.
Looking to get out there and stay out there? Battleborn Batteries lithium-ion batteries are here to power your RV, marine, and off-grid adventures. Designed as an easy drop-in replacement for traditional lead-acid batteries, these reliable solutions have 2 to 3 times the power, charge 5 times faster, are a fifth of the weight, and last 10 times longer. Offered in a variety of models in unique sizes and shapes, ranging from 50 amp hour to a robust 270 amp hour, and backed by a 10-year warranty. Battleborn batteries are built to fit your needs and power your experiences. On the road, on the water, and off the grid, reliable power is here. Check them out at battlebornbatteries.com. With the complexity of all the systems in an RV, I always say it's not if something's going to break, but a matter of when is something going to break. That is why I think an extended warranty for RVs is so important. We first interviewed wholesale warranties back in 2019 and immediately became impressed with how their policies worked, such as you can take your RV to any licensed repair shop, including mobile repairs. They also have personalized service plans, making sure you are getting the right policy for your needs. And if you think your RV is too old for a policy, you might be surprised to hear that RVs up to 20 years old can still be approved for a policy. That is more age lenient than most RV parks I've stayed at. Go to wholesalewarranties.com/beyond the wheel or click the link down below in our show notes to get your free quote today.